Welcome back to Midwest eSports Formula One Division 2. Tonight we have a race in Suzuka, Japan, one of the most iconic circuits. Drivers love it. We love to watch it too, and we're excited to be covering Division 2 once again because we had a great race last week and both of the championships are heating up.
Yes, despite the rain in the past 2 weeks of racing here in Division 2, these drivers have been able to pull out some amazing strategy calls to make the end of these races very, very interesting. We're going to get into the recap of last week's race in just a little while, but Mitch and I decided to take a trip to Suzuka this week to give the track a feel for ourselves. Now, when we got there, we expected to have a McLaren and an Aston ready to roll for us on the pit, but when we got there, it wasn't what we had expected.
We were told that we were going to be racing some iconic liveries on the track, but I think they've seen us drive Formula One cars before because they stuck us in some nice kart racers. So our pace will be maybe a little bit off of the record, but hey, we can still battle in a go-kart. It doesn't matter.
No, it was so much fun to still get our tires a little warm out on the track. We had a gorgeous day. Hopefully we see the same sort of weather here when we get into racing with the rest of the pack. But yeah, the beginning of this 3-lap bout was really close. You and I were sniffing each other's exhaust pipes there for a little while.
We don't have to mention how many practice laps we had to get in for this, though, to be able to keep these karts on the track, because if you dip that wheel into the grass, it is game over, and you can take these corners at full speed in a kart. See you going into the grass a little bit, but they slide very, very easily.
Yeah, it was not the downforce package that we requested upon arrival, but we worked with what we had. These karts were surprisingly quick in the straights and in the corners. But yeah, without that egregious downforce that you get with a Formula car, anything like the curbs, the sausage curbs, obviously, that grass, everything just spelled death. If you passed over those white lines, it was game over. And I think a little bit of a slip there. Was that you?
Yeah, I went a little bit wide. This is a view. We wanted to show what it's like to be driving this track in first person, but when you try to record a lap in VR in the Super Formula car, you're holding on for dear life. It's so fast, and you have that bar directly in the middle of your vision. So we thought that go-karts give you a bit more open of a view.
But we will see. We actually won't see. I apologize. We will not see Sebastian Vettel's B corner in Suzuka in the game. I don't believe they ported that in time. But this weekend, Seb is unveiling in real life in Suzuka. He's unveiling a very cool ecosystem, biodiversity project around one of the corners in Japan. But again, the Bees were not here to witness this atrocity of a race. Still pulling some fast laps, though. I think that we were at like a 240, 239 fastest?
Something
That's
around there. We could
it.
actually see on yours what you're going to come across the finish. I know you put it off in this corner, so I hope that's not where they put the B's. I think it's in turn 2, right?
Yes.
So that'll be coming up here in a moment. I was checking this one. I think I almost went off track because I was looking to see where you were, and every time I look left, I drive left and dip into the grass a little bit.
It happens to the best of us. This track is so much fun. Everyone loves to say that this is just a grown-ups go-kart track for, larger motorsports. But it really is. If you shrunk this down to a regular go-kart track size, not a 3.6-mile monster, it would be bendy, twisty, curvy, challenging. There you go, Mitch, giving a little bit of love to the wall through the sand trap there as I continue clean and tidy through the corner.
I found where not to drive on the track.
But but this track, there are so many different types of corners. I don't believe they repeat a corner type, an angle, a degree, a slope 2 times on this track. So it really forces the drivers to be alert the entire time and be able to adjust to hit the right delta, because you're not going to hit the same. Hey, I know that if I hit turns 3 and 8, they're kind of the same, so I can get the same kind of rhythm. Every single one of these 17 turns has a different rhythm, a different feel. So this one really is fun. It's always offering a challenge, even to the most experienced drivers. And as you can see here, we were having some fun, but it was still hard to wrangle these small carts on a actual track.
It is a good way to practice a lot of the apexes on these corners, though. This one can be kind of tricky because it seems wide enough to carry its speed, but you do have to slow down a bit. And then here you really want to get on the gas as soon as you can. I think I was hitting this corner pretty well. You can see it just get in your slipstream a little bit. Considered bump drafting you, but I didn't want to help you out at all. And these carts, as soon as you tap them, you just spin out.
Oh my God, I hit you in a bump draft during practice, and it was the scariest thing. Like, just hearing your audio. You were rocking a VR headset, as you can see the angle right now. You were in VR, so when I bumped you, I don't know what you were doing, if you were looking at settings or checking your phone. There we go, went a little wide through the final chicane, reset me a couple lengths behind Mitch. But yeah, it sounded like you had an aneurysm and you actually received whiplash from that back push in your VR headset last night.
Yeah, I was just getting the invite for the lobby. We were clearing all of that up.
Much more important.
This is the final lap. Yeah, Valentine saying carts are fun. You really need to know to throw the front end and commit. There were some parts on here where you turn and you start to drift, and if you hold it, it works, but it's really hard to recover coming out of a straight in some of these carts. But man, they are a lot of fun. You can see you just catching it before going out, where the bumblebees are going to be home, I believe.
Save the bees. We're not reckoning into the bees' homes any day. Yeah, it looks like Light Work is one of the late attendees to today's lobby. Our four-time podium sitter, no, 5-time after last week podium sitter, late to the lobby for qualifying. So hopefully he makes this race. It sounded like it was a tight window to get everybody in and on track today. We are running under someone else's lobby tonight, so doing a bit of a shuffle, a bit of a last-minute hokey pokey to get everything square for 9:30.
And I believe you get close to overtaking, or maybe you do. By the way, you can see those laps on the right. So 239, 228. You go right on the inside.
That's that Honey Badger braking. That Honey Badger Academy of braking right there.
That was a very bold dive, because earlier in the race I did the same thing, and then I went wide and you were able to cut back on me before taking off in this corner. And there's me losing where you went. I can't see where you are, and I can't use the analog stick to look around. So
we didn't know that we were going to be racing karts. We thought we were going to be in Formula cars, which do have rear view mirrors. So you didn't bring your own from home.
Technically, they have mirrors.
yeah, that little hot dog with mirror on the side.
You got to turn your head 90 degrees to the left or the right to check into those mirrors, but they're on there for safety reasons.
Sure. I'm just kidding. We do like safety.
Yeah. We're wearing our helmets while we're karting.
It does sound like
this is the final corner. There we go.
Lightwork is online and is making his way to the session. So looks like he will be competing again tonight. Thrilling till the very end. And there we go. Across the line. Aston able to squeak it out right at the end. Taking pole. And the gold. What did we race for? We raced for nothing. It was late. We raced for bedtime.
We raced because we raced on this track in F123 on the weekends, and it was a bit of a cluster. We did do pretty well, but didn't have time to record that one, and we wanted to give a nice little track view, and thought, racing those Aston Martin and McLaren karts is always fun to see.
Yeah, well, maybe next time we make it to Japan, we'll be able to sit down in the Formula vehicles. We're going to try, maybe for next week's broadcast up in Division 1 for a Formula 1 overview. We'll see what the schedule brings. However, we're going to take a look at the schedule right now. We have a couple of driver substitutions, and we are going to be getting to the constructors' points from week 1 up until now in just a moment. But Aston Martin has a replacement driver. Slayerized will be out as the teammate for Lightwork. And in will be Alex, MMR Alex 27 racing for that Aston Martin. And we also have a Ferrari replacement. Bacon will be racing for Ferrari. I was trying to see if there was a substitution. Looks like someone just didn't make it. So there was an open seat over in Ferrari's pit. So Bacon will be assuming that position. I believe we also have Sui running in Division 1 this weekend. So props to our drivers who were able to bump up to D1. Good luck, gents. Keep it clean and, finish the race, right?
That's the goal. I see Peter was saying that he's calling a commentator's curse to jinx and cause more rain tonight. I'm hoping we don't have rain tonight. We'll find out. I think once the race starts is when they usually let us know in the lobby if there's going to be a chance of rain or not. We've had it the past 2 weeks. Hopefully it passes on for this one. Otherwise, the drivers will be in for some fun. We also have the updates to the game. They made some control updates and other tweaks. And because of that, they will be racing the Formula One World cars tonight. So they won't be racing the Ferrari or the Mercedes or the Red Bull. They do that in the previous weeks. The cars are at equal settings. So even though Red Bull is the fastest car in the game, they can make them equal. But with the update, sometimes that gets changed. Cars are faster and slower than others. So they're using F1 World cars, which are all the same, all their own details too. So I believe they can have their own paint jobs, paint schemes. It'll be hard for us to tell who's racing for what team because they don't have the logos next to them. So we'll be pulling up the chart a lot to compare. But it'll be cool to see the drivers with their own personal flair and their liveries if they've made one.
I was going to say most of the drivers will have some sort of original flair. We see from the paddock chat, Lightwork saying, oh no, we're using the F1 World cars. I did not have time to make a car, so mine looks brutal. It's just the stock car. So one of the fastest drivers in the league will be driving the vanilla F1 World car tonight. That is going to be quite a treat. I know we've had some really cool liveries coming out so far in the season with F1 23, including the cigarette Triple Crown livery from McLaren and the Miami livery from Red Bull. So we'll see if we see any of those out on track this week. But yes, it'll be very interesting to see who is in a branded car and who just went absolutely ham on a custom design. I'm hoping to see a lot of neon, a lot of colors that just clash and make absolutely no sense. And yeah, just continue to make it harder and harder for us to call these races, as most of the time we do say, Mitch in the Aston.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky to keep track of them. It'll kind of be like playing Rocket League and playing against level ones with a bunch of octanes out there in the classic red or blue or the classic orange. We also had Travis Scott's in the lobby, seeing that they're doing world cars, which have different handling. And so he said this will be him all tonight racing, which I think sums up a lot of last week's race in Division 2 with the 5 to 10 safety cars we had throughout the night.
Yeah, it hurts. No one wants to race in the rain, especially a track like Suzuka, which is notorious for being wet. But this track dry is so much fun to just grip and rip, right? Like you can hit all of these corners. It is so much fun. It's like a roller coaster ride. It's like what you thought of as a race car driver from the very start, right? And then you kind of get into the more normal tracks, you get into the swing of things. But every time you come back to Suzuka, it feels fun. It feels young. It feels fresh. It feels challenging. Rain just slows all of that down, which adds another layer that no one ever wants, but especially at a fun, twisty, bendy track like this.
Yeah, all the drivers are looking forward to it. I saw earlier in the week that there were rumors Lance Stroll may not be able to race, and then they were saying... Whoa. Vettel said he would only ever come back as a reserve driver for Suzuka, and that was lining up perfectly. And then Lance Stroll's deciding to race. So we don't have Vettel racing, but Alonso said his favorite track by far. Lots of drivers love this one. So it is great to drive. You can go all out. A lot of sweeping corners if you get the feel down. I know racing GR3 cars in Gran Turismo, you can pretty much stay in third gear for the whole first sector, and you're just holding that and just doing a nice dance with the gas and the brakes to keep it on the edge, but you don't have to do gear shifts, and that's a really good feeling.
Yeah, hints of Imola in the sense of just the flow that you can kind of get in. It's very meditative. Looking at the paddock chat, looks like we do have Hightower in the lobby, so we will be getting into qualifying here shortly. But before we do, let's take a look at the very interesting chart changes in the constructors, the race for the constructors. With Aston Martin, keep an eye on that forest green Aston Martin, currently down third lowest in the points starting out this year.
Yes, and we had those driver changes that we mentioned. So Lightwork came into Aston Martin mid-season with promotions and people leaving. So the first couple of weeks, all the same changes that we've seen before. Hopefully it's playing.
Maybe.
Playing on here.
Well,
okay,
fun.
We'll leave it up on this screen. We'll start at week 5 for you. And this is where we start to see the changes. We had Alpine, Alfa Romeo, Mercedes at the top, and then AlphaTauri jumping up, Alpine taking a pretty big of a dive down in the standings in the 5th. And then we see McLaren start to shift up, move into 4th. And then I believe week 8 is where Aston Martin starts to make their climb, going up into 8th. And then in week 9, they're moving up into 5th.
Well, you can see where Lightwork joined the team, as he did not start the season with Aston Martin. Very commanding lead, and there we go, week 11, Aston Martin sniffing at the top, bouncing back down into 5th. And
that was me going back a week just to show it one more time. Because in week 9, we had all of these teams at the top 5 teams within 100 points. Aston Martin at 977, Alfa Romeo at 1069. And we saw a lot of trading places with Aston Martin jumping up into 2nd in the Constructors' Cup.
Unreal.
Mercedes moving up into 1st, Alfa Romeo moving down into 3rd, and then AlphaTauri, Alpine, Red Bull, McLaren, Williams, Haas, and Ferrari. Now, also, I saw in the chat today that they were looking for a D2 driver to move up into D1 for the rest of the season, and then they would keep it next year. But Lightwork wants to stay to see if he can get this Drivers' Championship done. It's hard. There are only 4 races left, including today, but he wants to really go for that, see if he can get all of these drivers' points and take home a Drivers' Champion.
Right. Lightwork currently sitting in 5th for the Drivers' Champion, behind MMR Sui with 719 up in 1st, followed by the Red Bull Travis Scotts, the Mercedes of Frenchie, the Alfa Romeo, right? Alfa Romeo, yes, of Andrew Mason, and then Lightwork and MMR Slayerized, his teammate over in Aston Martin. They could. With 4 races to go, it is very possible to see Lightwork climb this like a toddler's play school ladder to get to the top of the Drivers' Champions. And yes, he does feel like the sure shot to move up into D1 next season. But yeah, just an amazing competitor in Lightwork, saying, yeah, I get it. I could fill in today. It would be fun. I'm going to stay here because I have a mission to accomplish, not just for myself, but for my team.
And right now in the Drivers' Championship, he is sitting in 5th with his teammate Slayerized in 6th. Lightwork's at 512 points. Sui is at 719 points. That's where he wants to see if he can catch up. With the point structure, 1st place is worth 85 points. So if he finishes 1st in the last 4 races, that's 340-ish points he can get. Where we at Drivers' Championship, he is 200 and a bit behind. So Sui, if he can finish mid-pack or better, he can probably hold up this Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot. But, I mean, we look back, round 7 was, I believe, let me double-check my graph. Yes. So week 7 was when Division 2 got Lightwork. Lightwork came up into Division 2 and finished his first race in Spain in 2nd place, followed by the Netherlands, 1st place, followed by Canada, 1st place. Are we seeing a trend? Followed by Saudi Arabia, 1st place, followed by Singapore, 1st place. he's going to have to put some work in, but it is not out of the realm of possibility that we see Lightwork make a shot. Or is my math terrible? Did you just say no and I'm rambling saying yes?
No, your math is right. I mean, he's been first in almost all of these races, so he does have a good shot at that. It's going to be exciting to see if he can, especially with how the rest are going. Demo taking one lap in this Formula One World Car and saying, I need to make some changes to this thing. So going right back into the pits.
Yeah, these cars are difficult. I don't enjoy running the world cars. I think it's just like any other car. If you don't give it all of your attention, all of your love, it's not going to treat you well, right? You know, we're all practicing on our team's car, and you get to learn how that car handles, how the engine sounds, you know, all of it. All of the tiny minor details come into play when you're racing at this caliber with little to no assists on a grid of 15 other drivers.
Yes, we do have Bacon out right now trying to set the first lap, and he's on medium tires. Interesting. Demo retiring from the session after pulling into the pits. We'll have to wait and hear what happened there with the car. Did see a caution flag out a little bit earlier. There's another caution flag out. Looks like a gray driver, maybe Frenchie, but he is back and moving.
Yeah, Demo Nomad's out. That's unfortunate. Wow, look at that over on the side. That is just a sight to behold. All of the players, different constructors, logos next to their names. Oh.
This will definitely be one for us to piece together. I know that Lightwork and Alex are in the Aston Martins team that I love, so we'll be able to know them, and a couple of these names will be familiar. Get this chart up so we can continue to keep eyes on them. Bacon's coming into the final section. You can see carrying full speed around that corner and then trying to hit this just perfectly so you can accelerate as soon as possible. Did fairly well, and I believe he'll set the first time out there. We'll see what these challenges look for. 1:29. Our go-karts were only a minute slower than that.
Yeah, we could have pushed. Again, it was not the aero package that we had planned for once we arrived in Japan. You may be thinking to yourself, hey, wait a minute. I've watched this stream before. I've heard that they shout out the stewards. And I've heard that WS Bacon is the head steward for Division 2 racing. Well, he is out on track tonight, keeping it as clean as possible, and he will be under the scrutiny of Peter DRH and Lancy following the conclusion of today's Division 2 race. There's not too much you can hide from when everything is videotaped.
Yes, every angle. We have a broadcast angle. Every driver should record an angle, otherwise they can't reply to incidents, and they get in trouble even more for having no replay to provide evidence. So there are a lot of cameras watching. They can scrub back through all of this. Usually takes several days to clear everything up and make those decisions, but it also makes the league very well run at that point, where people can post complaints and then reply to them, and then a group decides on them.
Yeah, Pork Chops runs an absolute pristine organization over here at MidWest eSports. So thank you very much to Pork and all of the other folks and the commissioners and the board who keeps this above board. We just saw Lightwork take fastest lap with a 1:27.836, and we were also watching Mitch Burns, who currently sits on top of my list for favorite world car liveries in that AlphaTauri. I couldn't see the logo on the side pod, but it looked like a Michelob Ultra can, which I am 100% here for.
It does look like a Mick Ultra. I think it's one of the in-game sponsors. Fair. We do have Pingalo in a Williams livery. Please tell me that he races for Williams and is not just making our lives even more difficult.
I'm searching. He is in a Williams, correct.
Okay, cool. We know Williams, 3 drivers on the track now and what teams they race for.
Williams Anniversary Silverstone livery. Another one up on the list for me for the real life liveries in the 2023 season. Williams always coming on, especially with that Duracell intake. You really can't beat it this year.
I don't know if you saw it too, but in the F1 Authentics website, they were auctioning off one of those Williams cars with that anniversary livery, because the car that they built with that livery was supposed to be used at Imola, that then got rained out. So they had an unused car with a 50th anniversary livery that wasn't officially the 50th race. And so I think it was starting at 2 million or 3 million.
Do we know what that car went for? I know what this, we saw the starting, but wasn't sure if you followed through on that one. Unreal. What a grab that would be. I mean, we could scrounge together the money and buy ourselves an F1 car, right? What would we do with it? Where's the closest track? Is it Austin?
I don't know if you're allowed to race them on the track at that point. Can't imagine showing up to a track day with an F1 car and just being like, yeah, got it at auction.
We're gonna take it around the track, see what it can do. We're gonna open this baby up. Could you imagine?
It would be insane. I will try to find the price of that one for you, because that one is just wild.
Jimmy, I'm telling you, you'll never believe it. I went to the track with the Mustang, and they showed up with a dang F1 car. There's nothing we could do out there. We're now on board with Altonian, who looks to be running a very pink Alpine livery. We love to see it. We love to see the team affiliations. Thank you very much to all the drivers who made it easy on your booth commentators for tonight's race. Bacon is making it easy, dropping it down in chat. Altonian looks like there was a little slip up there entering pit lane, but we're all good. That's what pit lane's for if there are any issues with the car. Bacon clarified that he is the only Ferrari and the only red car on the grid tonight. So that should hopefully help us call at least one other team.
Okay, I don't know if this is any different, but there is the Alfa Romeo Team Stake show car for $250,000.
That's way more affordable. Wait, so it's a show car. So you're telling me that we could put in like a Mazda engine or something like that and actually go hoon it around a track?
I think so.
Where would you even get fuel? Yeah, so that's where the show car, I think this Alfa Romeo show car would come into play, where we would just grab it and put like, I don't know, like a WRX engine in there. Something fun, something loud, something low octane. So we can actually afford it. Fill it up down at the Wawa, fill it up at the Sheets, at the Buc-ee's, and just send it around whatever track would allow us to race. Buying the tires would be another issue. Nick and Mitch is now accepting sponsorship bids. If you would like to bid for a sponsorship on this channel so that we can afford a car, I mean, other, channel features, let us know down below. We're on board with Alex getting into the hang of things here as a fill-in for Team Aston Martin.
He wanted to know if he was lagging too. All looks good on his part so far. We'll see how his time compares to the rest of the field. He's looking pretty good out on the track, keeping it nice and close to the edge.
Yeah, his run is looking pretty good. That car is also looking pretty good too. There's a lot going on here, but somehow it all works. Those zebra stripes on the side pod up through the intake are kind of hard. And then you have that reminiscent like AlphaTauri wing there, rear wing.
Say it kind of looks like the British livery or a British flag Union Jack type design. Puts down a 1:32, so he's going to work on improving that time. We also have 7 minutes left in qualifying, so enough for 3, maybe 4 more go-arounds for some of these racers.
Yes, and this is Q1 and only. We will be one and done here. We will be racing in just under 10 minutes. We have that gorgeous Golf livery. I love seeing that. Cynical, just showing it loud and proud out there.
And Cynical is with Williams.
Correct. Yes, the golf sponsorship jumped from McLaren to Williams this year. If he was running a Golf livery on a McLaren in F1 23 World Car, I would be very confused. Huge fishtail there on the final corner. That's not going to affect his time too much. That's still a clean run.
Yes. We'll jump over to Frenchie. Ooh, fastest lap, by the way, by Mitch Burns, 72. Gets a 1:27.734, so 1/10 faster than light work, but he is improving on his time by 3/10 after 2 sectors. He's looking to take this one right back. And is that the stock livery or is that a pre-order bonus?
That is the stock livery.
That's stock.
And entering through traffic here.
Hey,
It's gonna
the
be
extra 10 minutes to design your car is 5 less laps you can do on this track. Actually, I'm still thinking go-kart times. It's like 7 less laps that you can do on this track.
uh let's get all of these guys in GT7 so that they can run a go-kart race as well. I think that's what the off season is calling for.
I think it's a Fiat 500 race around this track.
Oh, even better.
It'll take 5 minutes to get a lap out of anyone.
Thank you, Spaceman, saying he will donate $5 to the $250,000 donation bucket for Nick and Mitch to purchase the Alfa Romeo show car that we will transform into our
We'll
track
just
day runner.
timeshare it.
We can timeshare it. Boom. Let's buy
I was
it.
just watching that Sunny episode. That's why timeshare popped right into my head. Everyone can take a turn on the car.
Don't buy a timeshare. Don't buy.
I got 3 weeks instead of 1.
Oh, wait. Okay. I am huge confusion. I thought Sui was racing up today. I suppose not.
Maybe not. I guess you thought wrong.
Well, yeah, that solves that. Both of the Alpines running that baby pink. I'll leave my opinions off today's stream. They're running the baby pink VWT Alpine.
We just have Alex retired from this session, and it looks like some caution flags in 2 separate sectors on the track, so he may have had an incident out there.
An incident.
I was teeing that up for you. I'm glad you took the swing.
Thank you. Thank you.
At least you hit it better than you hit your golf balls.
Hey, now. Someone watched my Instagram story last weekend.
Had to go there.
Travis Scott's crashing out of quali, possibly. Yeah, it looks like he's in the
Did you
pits
see
fixing damage. No, I'm checking the paddock chat, saying Mitch Burns. Sorry, I wasn't trying to crash out there. So it looked like there might have been a little bit of traffic, a little bit of wobble, this and that, and we now have a car in the garage under repairs with just a couple of minutes remaining as we are still under caution in Sector 2.
In front of Sector 2, though, we do have Pingalo also in the Williams. Currently sitting in 7th place with a 128.388. He's driver's pretty... Wow. Drivers above him are very close, so he could also improve on his time. He's coming up at the end of Sector 2, and now we have a caution flag right behind him. It's just these 2 cars battling it out.
Just under 3.5 minutes to go in Q1 and only. We do have our official weather report for the race today. It is miraculously looking like clear skies in Japan for tomorrow's, well, the race happening in 5 minutes. Tomorrow's race. So we will get a clean run, a clean showing here on the go-kart track of Suzuka, Japan. This is going to be such a fun undertaking tonight.
I'm excited, especially with the drivers who may have practiced with their team cars and now have to adapt to the F1 cars. There were also some things with the update where it may have changed some of your control preferences. So depending on how early you got on, you may have just found that out, and sensitivities may be a little bit off, which again will take some time for these drivers to adapt to.
Yeah, earlier in the day, we did see a couple of drivers complaining about the sensitivities and those issues, like Mitch was just saying. I did experience those last night as well, as we logged on to get a couple of laps in around Suzuka on F1 off stream last night. And I traditionally run my Logitech G29 with the clutch being my brake, so I have a little more travel than the center actual brake being my brake. And I was confused as to why I just wasn't braking into any of the corners. Why was my car broken? Until Mitch logged on and told me, yeah, it's happening to everyone right now. We will still be under a formation lap for today's race. However, that was a big point of contention this week. We know that we were running a different car, and there were hints from the commissioner and from the league that we may be running no formation laps. However, we were able to keep formation laps for tonight's race. Hopefully, we will be back to racing the constructors' cars next week, but until the game can get this fixed, we will be in these multiplayer cars.
There may also be some weird things happening with the starts of the lobbies too, so hopefully the race gets off without a hitch.
Yay!
Always some fun networking things whenever you're playing with 16 people from around the world.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like the real thing. We can get close here, but we are at the mercy of technology and some really big cables traveling very far away under a lot of water. It is what it is.
It is. I think, the practice is on right now, by the way, for the real race taking place in Suzuka, Japan this weekend. And with the time differences, everything is kind of wild. So it looks like practice 1 starts in half an hour. Unless my time's off on there.
I don't have the mental capacity to watch both things.
10:30.
10:30. Okay. All right. So yeah, just as these races are wrapping up, hopefully we should be able to tune over to P1, FP1 from Suzuka, real life in Formula One. It's gonna be a great weekend ahead. I can't wait to watch that race on Sunday. Just hearing now that today that Daniel Ricciardo was signed over Liam Lawson for the AlphaTauri seat in 2024. Looks like we're going to be burning a hole in my wallet this off season, as DR3 is my guy. So I hope I look good in navy and white.
Sure you will. Olivin getting a best time, I believe staying in 9th place. Looks like he will be staying in 9th place. Cynical, I think the only driver left out on the track. Actually, Bacon and Jordan Hum and Lightwork, so several drivers still out on the track. Don't listen to me. See where they are. I lost them. However, Cynical is the one that needs to improve his time. He was at a 1:38.044 in 15th, but is improving on his time. And there's debris out on the track. Another car. Oof.
Who got crunched? That looked like that was a mess. Oh my gosh.
Again, I can't quite tell because the liveries make it a little tricky to see who that was crashed up.
One of the Williams, if I'm not.
Could have been. That kind of looked like Lance's car. The wheel was ripped off the side.
Yeah.
Cynical, very good time. Jumping up into second at the last second of qualifying. But Lightwork, he's still putting it in. He was up, I think, 0.5 of a second, which is enough for pole position. If he can dial it in across the finish line, if anyone can, it is this man for Aston Martin.
Look at that.
Did he clutch it up?
I think I saw purple there. We might have, yes, we do. We have yet another pole position for Lightwork. His 6th race starting in this Division 2, and potentially the 6th race that Lightwork will find himself on the podium once again after a few short laps right here from Suzuka, Japan. We'll be right back with racing action for MidWest eSports Formula One Division 2 on Nick and Mitch. Round 12 of the 2023 season brings a return to beautiful Suzuka, Japan. The iconic Figure 8 go-round is one of the world's most demanding yet rewarding motor racing circuits. In just 3.5 miles and 17 turns, drivers will have to navigate just about every corner type available. This grown-up go-kart track is often revered by drivers as it remains an evergreen challenge on the schedule. Last week, the teams were plagued yet again with the misfortune of rain. However, a smart strategy call was the name of the game as multiple safety incidents pushed the final laps beyond the gray clouds. And as the sky broke, it was Aston Martin who finished 1st and 4th, bringing them back into the constructors' fight. Lightwork has captured a podium spot in the last 5 races and just did so again. Will he be able to make it 6 here tonight? From Suzuka, this is MidWest eSports Formula One Division 2 on Nick and Mitch.
And we have gotten the warning in the paddock chat to not ready up early. We had that happen last week, so qualifying lap started before the intro finished, and some drivers were left sitting in their spots just waiting for everyone else to do their lap. We can see some cars in the corner, though, bouncing up and down, testing out those hydraulic systems.
Yeah, I believe that was Demo Man we saw as he was not able to enter qualifying this week, immediately DNF'd at the start of Q1 and only because that was the penalty for starting the race early, starting formation before everyone was joined. That is a league penalty, not an F123 penalty, but he will be starting back of the pack to atone for the sin last week in Singapore. It's all good. We're going to be racing here under gray skies, but hopefully dry skies in Japan.
Yes, this is very Pittsburgh weather. This would be about the sunniest day that we can get. Looks like everyone's out on the Ferris wheel too, which also invented in Pittsburgh, so maybe these cities are related. And you can also see the zipline camera just cruising back and forth, waiting for its job at the very start of the race.
Yeah, the zip line's just like the Sky Coaster at Kennywood. This is Pittsburgh East right here.
All right, I think we're done with that part. We're going to move on. We have Gonzalo Sanchez. We have Gonzalo cheering on Travis Scott's in the chat. We also have Mickey Mouse Racing coming back too. Man, I love these battles between all of the teams. I know.
We got
Monkey Mafia Racing.
We got in trouble for that last week. We are still afraid. We are on the Monkey Mafia's hit list right now. We are still waiting for players to join up, but we will be joining the formation, the formation lap here shortly. Here we are.
I bet you're happy that this formation lap started because that was tough. Just listening. Now I'm doing it. Listening to you try to get through those words.
Yeah, go ahead. Try and say the FL. Try and say that again.
The formation lap. Unfortunately, we're missing Cake Thomas this week, so we won't be messing up his name too many times.
Yeah, we can both say it right now. Yeah, Cake Thomas not making an appearance for McLaren this week.
But we have your name prepared for the next time we see you in these races.
Never again.
Yes. You also asked in the chat earlier to double check the pronunciation of Alex to make sure that it wasn't different. To be fair, we did a lot with Ubisoft in their French studios where that would be like Alix or a slightly different version. So there is some legitimacy behind that.
Yeah, it's always fun when you run esports on an international scale and you have a lot of international pronunciations of names that you grew up with. Like Michael is never Michael. Anytime you see Michael,
is Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch.
Well, we can get a nice look at all of the different liveries that we have. Light work with the stock livery. Is this the Michelob Ultra? Yeah. Mitch Burns, pretty close. Cynical, rocking the nice Golf. Travis Scott's Red Bull Miami, right?
Yep.
Beautiful one.
Nailed it.
There we go. And then, how struggle, is that Williams or is that Alpine?
That is Alpine. Williams is running the blue Duracell battery this year.
Now, we also know that
the Golf.
I believe Bacon said he is the only red car and he is the only Ferrari racing tonight.
Forza. That's easy. But then we have Jordan Hum running a white car with a red livery, with red accents. So we're just all over the place here tonight.
And then there's your other Williams, your Alpine. Pretty standard. Standard.
Ooh.
Kind of nice. It's like a Mercedes look.
I like it.
And the last two, and pulling up into the spot. So we got to get ready for this race to start getting those tires warmed up. And let's see if he can stop in the box. Those are numbered, so he should be pulling up into 16. Very helpful to have those. Josh Senior was disqualified. I think we're good.
Session. Okay. All
Sometimes that happens weird with qualifying lap things.
There, that's all good. Here we are. We are lights out from Suzuka. Light work taking an easy lead from pole as he heads down the main stretch.
And we'll see if anyone can catch up to him at this point. He has pole. He has the lead. But cars are keeping it nice and close. This one is a little risky for crashes because If you are comfortable with this track, you can go at full speed through all these sweeping corners. If you're not, you might brake, and that can throw off people behind you.
Well, there's so many combination corners here, and the braking points of these drivers do vary slightly. So yeah, if you are off your pace, there we go. We saw someone heading off their pace as we head into the start of Sector 2. That was one of the Alpines. Not sure who
Sui.
exactly. Sui.
Yes.
Running wide there. Yeah, very difficult to pace here as we go double wide through some of these very, very tight corners.
Yes, I was also trying to see, it looked like Mitch Burns with the interval, but he just has a plus minus next to his name, which is interesting. Cynical, however, gaining on him and going into the straight so he can get a nice little slipstream. He's going to pull on the inside. Now, it's a little trickier to attack from the inside unless you get a clear pass, which he has. And we now have the possible race strategies for this. And they're gone already. But it looks like around lap 13 is when people would be pitting, changing from soft to medium or soft to hard. But I already see people out there on those mediums. Most of them starting on the mediums. So
That
do you think
seems-
they're going to go medium and then switch to soft, or see when they start to die and then maybe go to hard?
I'm thinking they may run these mediums as hard as they can and then switch to a hard. We do have some cloud cover. This track is not known to be a very toasty one. So the softs, while they provide a little more grip, we have Hightower spinning off in the smaller section, Sector 1 there. Not sure what happened, if that was a collision or just an error, as we saw in our go-kart pre-race. Hitting this grass here in Suzuka could be a death sentence, even if you are running a proper aero package of a Formula vehicle.
And we got a virtual safety car out now. Hightower missing almost all of that front wing, so he has the needle point, and we'll have to drive that around the track, and it's very difficult to do that at speed without that front nose on the car. And then he'll have to go into the pits and hopefully get one fitted. Hopefully not other damage to the car, either on the underbody or the side pods, things that you can't just fix when you pull into the pits.
Yes, it looks like we are back racing. Yes, as debris was cleared and Hightower will make his way to the pit. The other cars, the pack was given the green, and we are back to it as Cynical's trying to make a move here on light work. Is he going to be able to catch him in the back-to-back? The chicanes here, he is not. Lightwork able to continue to put pace on Cynical and Mitch.
Threw me off for a second. I thought you were
I was
calling
gonna
my
say.
name. However, Mitch is making a move on the inside of Cynical. Backs off at the last second, and Cynical's going to go a bit wide to carry that speed, but that lets Mitch through. And he is now going to be the one putting the pressure on Lightwork. Those two were talking after qualifying, congratulating each other for those qualifying laps and how close they were.
It just shows how fickle these cars are. These drivers are not used to running their world cars, their F1 world cars. They're used to running their real life cars with their real life constructor teams and build outs. So these cars are operating completely different. Some of them may be very alien to some of these racers. So tack that on top of some very close proximity driving between Mitch and Cynical, and we get a run wide. It's all good. It happens. There's no damage, and he was able to return and maintain that third place. He does have a mountain to climb to get back to Mitch, as he is now sitting almost a full second behind him. But likewise goes for Mitch behind Lightwork, holding a commanding almost 1 second lead of this race in lap 3.
Yes, they're starting to space out on the track. Did have a caution, but that is all clear as well. And you're starting to see these little pods emerge. You got the top 4 racers, I believe. And then you've got another cluster of 3 and then another cluster, which tends to happen. They're going to start getting these DRS trains now that it is active out on the track. Mitch Burns setting the fastest lap, though, with a 1:31.899 on the medium tires. And he's going for a move around the outside.
He does it.
Can he hold it? Will be the question. It looks like Lightwork's able to take that right back, and Cynical's able to slip in front, and Mitch Burns having difficulty, and now Travis Scott's moving up into third.
So difficult to leave these first 3, even though there are close races later on, further down in the pack. How interesting is this? Seems to be hitting the same parts of the track. We're seeing the same sorts of run wides as we go into a couple of these corners. You can only hope that these drivers will tune it in. Bit of wobble there from the Red Bull. Tune it in as the race progresses. 27 laps in total here in Suzuka. Anything can happen.
Well, it's something that the first couple laps for sure, you really just have to hold on, try and establish yourself out on the track, and then you can settle into it, start to work the tires and get into the groove. And then we'll see who's going to be really comfortable on the track. Will light work improve, or has he just started at his best? And can the drivers behind him start to chip away at that time?
Right. We have a few folks down in the comments over on the Nick and Mitch YouTube channel begging for Travis Scott to make his way up through that lead pack. I believe, is that the Peloton? No, that's the lead or the chase. No, I'm getting my sports mixed up. But rest assured, Josh, this will be live, or well, this will be recorded on our YouTube channel. So you can load it up tomorrow morning after bed and watch this as you get ready for your day ahead. Hopefully, we may see some movement from Travis Scott if he's able to catch up now in third, making moves, trying to chase Cynical.
And I wanted to find the records here. So Travis Scott hasn't won this season. He hasn't won yet in the league. He's raced 46 times, 5 podiums, none in first, however. So he is looking for his very first win.
Some of these drivers, if you think, do you think at all any of them will go from medium to soft in the hope that there may be another safety car later on in today's race where they could switch back to a medium or a fresh hard? Thinking about like a Travis Scott strategy here. If he continues the pace on Cynical and light work, he may want to switch to a soft to try and chomp through a couple of those laps to gain some speed, gain some close that gap, and then hope that he can transfer back. That's going to take a lot of patience and a lot of luck if he wants to see the checkered flag, especially if there's no VCS that's called.
I could see, if I was in this situation, I would see how long I can take these medium tires. So that can be very driver dependent and setup dependent. Traditionally in races, I can take the tires longer than most drivers. And so if you can get far enough where you can just keep these mediums and then go on the softs at the very end, then you're good. If not, you would have to switch over to the hard. So just something, maybe the driver dependent, temperature dependent too at the track.
Bacon making a run on Adeltonian there, getting 0.2 of a second on the MMR driver, but unable to overtake. I believe lap 6, we do have DRS enabled, so it may not be a question of if, but when will Bacon claim 5th from the MMR driver.
Interestingly enough, the only DRS zone on this track is at the finish line. Even though we have the second sector, third sector, nice long straight, no DRS there. So just one chance to really activate that.
Japan, they have a love for the dramatic. While we were talking there, Jordy Hum was overtaken by Holovin for 7th place.
Yeah, so
slide.
I saw a question from Josh saying, how is Travis Scott in second in standings with 0 wins? You can be very consistent in second place and still be first. If these stats are correct, I believe they are. This is the giant record database. He also has 1 drivers championship with 0 wins too. So if you're finishing in second, a lot, but the driver who finishes in first also crashes out of races or finishes in 10th or below, over the course of a season, you can build up more points.
If we head back up to second place, Cynical took the lead from Light Work, and Light Work making light work of Cynical, trying to get him through these corners. It is enough. No, it is not, as Cynical is able to maintain position on the D1 destined driver, Light Work. Cynical now leading this race in lap 7 of 27.
We also have Bacon making a move to jump into 5th, but these two are going toe-to-toe. Travis Scott and Mitch Burns are as well in 3rd and 4th. This is where all the action will be, at least at the start of the race. We've seen this in other races too before. When 1st and 2nd start to battle for position, that allows 3rd and 4th to catch up to them and maybe overtake. So the more they kind of try to pass each other, the riskier this is going to get. Saw that with Carlos and Lando in the real race last weekend, where Carlos intentionally gave Lando some slipstream and DRS, and Lando understood the assignment and said, I'm not going to try to pass you. I'm just going to take this and hold on to second place so we can both stay up front.
You may remember from qualifying Demo serving a penalty from last week's error in Singapore. Started this race in 16th place, is now currently sitting 12th. Demo making his way up through the grid, was just overtaken by Anbu Mason, but we may still see something from that 12th place driver now as Lightwork and Cynical going back at it through the stretch. Lightwork making it, I already used that one. I'm so sorry. Lightwork making it through turn 1 to overtake Cynical.
You've used all of your allotment for the entire season at this point on that fun. That's it.
These two going toe-to-toe. It really seems that DRS zone is the moneymaker. It's where we're seeing all of the overtake action happening down the main stretch, but that's exactly what you want if you're building a track. You want it where all of the folks are sitting the grandstands. Where else do you want to see the most high-intense action of the evening, but right in front of your very eyes for the podium?
So it has a lot of good viewing areas too. There's some hills where you can see fans standing up. I really like this back section of the track once you get out into the woods, and then you have this giant sweeping corner with a lot of grandstands, and then this long straight, which also looks to be another starting grid for a different race series where they have different starting spots. It would be interesting to start the F1 race here, although they don't have a really paddock for it, so I imagine that's for a completely different thing. Looks like there's a very small garage, if there's one at all.
The race continues. For first is Cynical, closing the gap with Lightwork. We are on board with Mitch as we watch this transpire. Cynical able to make it happen right before DRS is activated on the main stretch. These four drivers are nowhere near done with today's race. We also saw Bacon still nipping at the heels of Adeltonian down in 6th place, now just under a 10th of a second, able to overtake Adeltonian. The race for 5th is heating up, as well as the race for 7th. These packs are tight.
We gotta check out the action that was happening down here. It looks like now 8th, 9th, or 7th, 8th, and 9th are also in a train in a battle. And then 10th, 11th, and 12th just behind them, also all within a second.
This is, I mean, as a driver, this is exactly how I would want to take on Suzuka. I would not want that full pack. I wouldn't want any more than 3 or 4 cars in a pack at any given time. Just for safety and freedom of this course, you really do need some room to move. And too many drivers can really gum it up.
It is fun to have that little group that you start to challenge with, though, and just, you know, you're having fun trading spaces, creating that nice little train. But when you get in front, it's difficult because it's going to be very hard for you to catch up to the next sector of cars, and everyone behind you has DRS, so they're going to be able to stay on your heels, and it's sometimes hard to make progress.
A very interesting slinky effect that we're seeing here today. These drivers gaining and losing all of their speed, all of their interval times, as we saw Anbu Mason there trying to get past Sui, but not able to make it happen. Here we go under DRS once again. Cynical in 2nd place, under a 10th behind Mitch Burns, now in 1st place. Lightwork currently sitting in 3rd. Travis Scott still holding it down in 4th.
We also have a caution out here. Can't see what car is out. It looks like there's one.
That's MMR. Alex is out of this race for good. That is a DNF for the replacement driver. Unfortunate turn of events there for him.
It is always hard, though, to kind of challenge up and race into a slightly tougher division. Could have been some rule changes or, you know, car handling changes, and Cynical showing us an example of what can happen when you start to lose control of the car, but he keeps it on track. Lightwork closes the gap, but not a great spot to overtake, so doesn't look like that'll give him an opportunity just yet. Cynical, however, could have done a little bit of damage to those tires.
Yeah, Alex did qualify 2nd to last in today's Q1 and only session, but in the paddock chat had mentioned, dang, I didn't realize that there were no ABS in Division 2. So I will gladly take that 1:37 or whatever his qualifying time was. He was very happy with his time. Looks like he was racing without an assist that he typically would lean on. Josh Sr. now taking 8th over Jordan Hum in 9th. And we may have another DNF. Yes, Jordan Hum is out of this race in his Haas. What just happened between him and Josh Sr.? We are now officially under safety car. These drivers are heading to the pits.
I think at this point, they're going to be putting on hard tires and trying to stay up for the rest of the time. So that's going to change the strategies a little bit. Yep, we can see hards going on to almost everyone, especially those leaders, Mitch Burns, MMR Cynical, Lightwork, and Travis Scott's. Mitch getting out of the pits first, followed by Cynical and then Lightwork. Bacon, I believe, moving up into 5th.
Yeah.
He may have been battling with Jordy, though.
There we see MMR Hightower, that early spin in, I believe, lap 3 or 4, putting him almost 40 seconds behind this pack, just now entering pit lane, still trying to find his team. It was a devastating spin for Hightower, but very thankful that he will hopefully be able to cross the finish line after 27 here, as opposed to spinning out, much like the Haas and the other car that Alex was driving for. Was that
Aston Martin?
Aston Martin. I am so sorry. What a mortal sin.
It's okay. We discussed it like 3 times before the race started.
Yeah.
Josh Sr. starting, or I don't know if he switched to medium tires or if he had medium tires on before and switched to medium tires. Either way, he could be expecting or hoping on one more safety car.
Yeah.
Where he can put on softs. And this way, while every other driver is out on hard tires, he can chip away at their times and try to climb the leaderboard a little bit. Hope for that pit stop to give him some relief, put on a fresh set of tires with everyone else, because I imagine they would put on soft tires if there's another pit stop around lap 20 or a safety car.
We were able to send one of our reporters down to the Aston Martin paddock and get a quick word from Alex, who mentioned this is the first no ABS experience I've had in Midwest racing, and the game did change all of my settings as well. So yes, very unfortunate for Alex, moving up a division, but battling battling Goliath here as all of the settings were changed, just basically running blind on a brand new video game. Nothing challenging about that whatsoever.
Taking a look at the fastest laps too. Look how close a lot of these are. So Mitch Burns says the fastest at a 1:31.899, and then Bacon in 5th place has the only other 1:31.955, and then Travis Scott has a 1:32.015. Adultonian has a 0.048. Cynical has a 0.051 and Lightwork has a 0.053. They are running extremely close to each other at the top.
These cars are, these drivers are just phenomenal, and there's a reason why they are all running in D2. Jordy Hum now officially leaving this session, and we saw MMR Frenchie dipping back into the pits for something. May have been an incorrect wheel swap, but he is now on mediums. We'll see how that plays out for him. He may have put the hards on and decided, we'll see what we can do with mediums, especially if they are predicting another safety car incident.
Were they down closer to the end?
What, in the standing?
Yeah, were they down?
Frenchie was mid-pack. Frenchie was probably 10th or 11th. I did see their name drop down a few pegs as he entered the pit, so...
I'm wondering if that's part of the gamble of just switching to medium tires and seeing if they get another safety car or if they can switch to softs. If you want to text us while you're driving during the safety car lap, feel free to let us know the strategy that you're going with, or don't. You don't want to give that away to teams either.
Fair. Yeah, and this is just a PSA that if you are operating a vehicle in real life, not in the video game, don't text and drive. Never cool, never fun. Don't do it. This has been a PSA from Nick and Mitch.
You could be like me too. I mean, I talked about my first race and errors are made. My last race, came into the pits, forgot to fuel up my car. Well, skipped it because I was skipping the tire change, skipped refueling. So I left the pits with half lap of fuel, so crawled back to the pits, then put on soft tires, and then another patch of rain came. So everyone makes strategy errors or misclicks on their controller, and it's tough to deal with.
Yeah, it happens to the best of them. We saw some very, very ambitious predictions last week in Singapore with the rain, with all of those safety cars. I believe it was Lightwork and Hightower who were predicting the weather with pinpoint accuracy and decided to switch onto slicks about a lap and a half before that track. Everyone else caught up and the track was officially dried off. That put them well into the lead of that race and able to hold it through to the very end. Much like we're seeing here, maybe Frenchie and Hightower have something, maybe they know something that we don't, or they're hoping for something that other drivers may not be hoping for to move up through this grid. Only time will tell as the safety car is in, and it looks like we are back under green here in Suzuka, Japan. All the cars now bunched back up, and our new leader, Mitch Burns, followed by Cynical and Lightwork. We're now on board with Josh Sr.
We're looking at Josh Sr. because he is the first one that put on those medium tires, so we'll see if he's able to crawl around some of these people and gain some positions. I also see that Josh posting in the chat that they beat Travis Scott's in go-karting last week, so we now have real-life rivalries crawling their way into the chat.
I'm also debating joining a go-kart league this fall, so maybe we'll have some GoPro footage to show as Cynical takes lead from Mitch Burns there. These two are going to be duking it out under a tenth of a second. Cynical trying to make pace, but Mitch is able to stay right on his heels.
And we had Josh Sr. just making that jump over Holovan, too, up into 7th. Now he is lowering the time down to 6th place, but Cynical setting the fastest lap, a 1:31.379. Now that these drivers are out on medium tires, we will see those times go down a little bit more. Or no, they're on hard tires, excuse me. Other way, so he set a fastest lap on the hard tire.
That's phenomenal. I mean, that just shows, to me, that tells me that Cynical is so confident at this track. He knows exactly what needs to be done. He really loves this track, and he might have beaten up those hards just a little bit to get that extra edge, but it definitely paid off for him. Looking back, that past lap there, Lightwork now moving into second. I was going to say he was almost a second behind Mitch and Cynical, but I guess that was no issue as he is now in a battle for second. Mitch and Lightwork trading blows here in Sector 2.
I'm going to say Mitch had a little bit of a slide coming out of the corner, which let Lightwork squeak on by him. But now they're battling back and forth, and Bacon has closed the gap. He is right on the heels. This will be an interesting DRS going through the finish line, just dipping those toes into the grass. And now Lightwork going for the pass on the inside, and so is Bacon. He's going for the double pass.
Bacon takes the double!
Can he hold it through the corner? Just barely.
What a commanding move from Bacon, the one and only Ferrari Forza, as he charges ahead into lap 15 of the Suzuka, the Japanese Grand Prix. Holy crap. There was a battle going between Lightwork and Mitch, and Bacon just said, "Excuse me, please. I'm just gonna slide by you guys if you don't mind." He's now sitting calmly in second place. However, Cynical, because of that interaction, able to take an almost 2-second lead on this fight.
Yeah, he just saw that space and went for it 2 passes in a row. Cynical also pulling away, however. Look at the fastest lap now. He is 0.5 of a second faster than the next one, I believe, which is Bacon at this point, making that giant move. Cynical, the first one with a 1:30, so 2 fastest laps in a row. We'll see if he has more in him now that he has this open air.
I'm going to say, and on hards to boot, those are only going to degrade from this point on. So the fact that he continues to set fastest is just a testament to his skill, his commitment, his patience, his focus, some other adjectives that I can't think of right now. Cynical is on a ride from God at the moment.
We also have Josh Sr. moving up into 6th place on those medium tires. So now he has to start closing that gap to the pack in front of him of all of the leaders. And that's where it's going to be tricky, but it looks like he still has Adaltonian and Mason behind him. Adaltonian going to be having DRS here in a second. Might be able to get a pass by, and he will slip through the inside. It looks like that's straightaway. If you have DRS and the person in front of you doesn't, it's going to be hard for them to hold their position.
Yes, as we just saw as well for the fight for 10th. Pinglo, a racer driver who we haven't talked about today, haven't really seen him, didn't follow him through qualifying, able to overtake Demo, who is now sitting 11th. Again, finished this race dead last, was able to make his way up. Granted, 2 drivers are DNF, but still, that is 3 cars that he has been able to best so far, and was just in a race with Pinglo for 10th.
Yeah, we do have some of those guys making some jumps. And looks like there's a lot of action down here with all of Monkey Mafia Racing. 3 drivers down in 12th, 13th, and 14th. And they are also battling with each other. Must be exciting to have people in your same clan or your same racing group just going at it. Sure, there's a lot of bragging rights that go on with that whenever you finish the race.
Sure, I'd love to see that team chat at the end of the night.
Here we go. Josh Sr. going to try and claim back 6th position. Looks like Bacon Lightwork is
something wrong
into the wall.
Oh,
Maybe not into the wall, but he has definitely gone off track and is slipping down the board rapidly. Car looks okay visually. We'll see how it handles for him on this next lap out. Safety car or yellow flag is cleared up. That one's going to hurt for him and for Aston Martin now, with him in 11th and Alex out of the race. Again, not making the move to jump up into Division 1 to see if he can get the Drivers' Championship. This is going to be a lot harder now with him having to crawl up 11 positions to try and win this race.
Yes, that trail just got a little rockier, a little bumpier, and a little steeper, all with that one single slide. We now have Travis Scott. If anyone is still awake over there in the chat, Josh, wake up. Travis Scott's in 3rd. Travis Scott is on the podium. I don't want to fanboy from the broadcaster's booth, but Travis Scott is in 3rd behind Bacon and Cynical. What is this podium as it stands? Lap 17 of 27 here from Japan. Our pace setter for the back half of this season. Lightworks spinning out now in 11th place, fighting down there with the Monkey Mafia.
And this one's going to be important too, because right now, Travis Scott is sitting 35 points.
Oh, there we go! That is, devastating. As Mitch Burns sends his entire front wing, he goes aerial into the bollards. That may be it for his race. We are migrating host, and oh, what on earth just happened?
Oh, boy.
Okay. So this has happened once before to us in Division 1. I believe the first week that we were on board with MidWest eSports. We have dropped our host just as Mitch Burns sent it into the sidewall and tanked his chances as well. In 2 laps, we lost both of the race leaders at one point, Mitch Burns and Lightwork.
We are getting a lot of question marks in the drivers chat right now. Seems like everyone has been booted from the lobby or is experiencing issues. Everyone has gone to a black screen. It also looks like Bacon saying apologies for that tap to Lightwork. Didn't expect him to go that much slower. So Lightwork maybe slowing down or braking and then getting tapped by Bacon and causing a lot of chaos now. So the drivers will have to discuss what to do. They do have some race restart rules in the league, so I think they're going to work through those. Might be a new lobby with 25% race length to finish the rest of this out, but we will see.
Yeah, happy to go back if we can get the race in a picture-in-picture with us. Not sure if we have that built out right now, but we are working on a layout here so we can get something back on this black screen. Thanks for staying with us here on Nick and Mitch as we sort out some technical issues in Japan. for Midwest eSports Formula One Division 2 Week 12. And now, yeah, there we go. We got something going on. Hey, what's going on? We're back. The lights are back on. The cameras are turned on. We are in it. I quit picking my nose a couple seconds ago.
What I was just trying to pull up when we had all of the chaos happen on track is that Travis Scott was sitting in second and third. He was wavering between those positions. Sui was in 14th. Now, Sui's in first in the Drivers' Championship. Travis Scott's is in second in the Drivers' Championship. Travis 35 points behind. With their positions in the race, Sui would have gotten 45 points. Travis Scott's was at 77, so that would have put him in first. If those positions hold, if Sui couldn't make up any ground or Travis Scott's moves up a little bit, he would move into first in the Drivers' Championship, even if he doesn't win the race. So that goes back to how you can be in first or second and win a Drivers' Championship without winning a race, is having someone like Sui who wins a lot of races, but then also finishes lower down. And Travi just being so consistent throughout the season with seconds and thirds and fourths is racking up a lot of points.
That is devastating for Travi, as he was having a fairly clean race there, as it appeared to get a little chippy for the fight on podium. Travi just able to sit behind those podium spots and watch all of that happen. He was primed for those positions. We'll see if we're able to get a race restart here. We do have a word from the league in the event of something like this happening. In the event of a severe glitch before 10 laps, we will have a full restart, 50% of the race. If the glitch occurs after 10 laps, we'll do a 25% distance restart with the grid set at the point of the severe glitch as determined by the host. After 50% of official distance, the race order will be classified as when the severe glitch occurred. Anyone who leaves before host is classified they will end where they end. We're getting into the weeds here, but it is looking like if we're able to get a lobby back up and running in time, we will see a 25% race to the very end, and hopefully we will be able to go back and get the grid order as it stood when the glitch occurred, so that we can start back in that correct order. Unfortunate, though, for those drivers. Some of them were really setting up some good moves there where they're talking about strategy, giving away some of the details in the chat. But yes, the overall vibe is what is going on. We were doing well. Why is this game so harmful? Why does this game hate us as much as it does?
Yeah, it's tough to tell what quite happened there, especially with an update coming out just in the past few days. A lot of times networking and matchmaking isn't perfect. It takes a bit to buffer out. And I imagine Thursday is one of their higher traffic nights with a lot of leagues racing. So
they were saying something may have happened similarly in Division 1 tonight. So yes, high traffic night, it happens. Again, it's we're at the sake of the internet. These cars are not running analog. We do have them on the digital track here.
Yes, I'm looking at the chat for Division 1, 2, and it looks like there's something happened in Division 1, something happened in Division 3. Must have been the game Division 4. It looks like they're going to ready up for another one. So seems like F123 or EA in general had something happen with their servers, and all of these races got shut down.
So unfortunate. Looks like there is a bit of talk between Bacon and Lightwork in regards to the incident up front that sent Lightwork back into the back of the pack. Bacon saying, "Hey dude, sorry, apologies for that tap. I did not expect you to go that much." So there was contact from Bacon on Lightwork that has been confirmed between the drivers. They seem like they want to do some sort of restart, the repositioning on the grid to make up for it, but it sounds like that may not be allowed because that happened well before the glitch occurred.
We're going to see a lot of drivers with different opinions too, so we will see what happens. Always exciting, though. We go from a rainy race to a rainy race with a large number of safety cars to a little bit of a network issue, but lots of
Yes.
action that was happening too.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are running on a different server than usual. That's not the cause of tonight's error. However, I believe we're running on Josh Senior's server tonight in his lobby, and he is calling for a complete black flag on today's race. He never got kicked from the race and may not be able to restart. So we are keeping our eyes on the chat here. But it does sound like the lobby host is calling for a black flag on tonight's race, Division 2 in Japan. As unfortunate as that is the gamble that we take with online racing.
Yes. I'm also looking at the rules. There are some good things in there too, where if they restart the race, you have to start with the same compound that you were on when the race shut down. If you get caught skirting around that, you get a 20-second penalty.
Whoa.
And possibly one of those license penalty points that sticks with you through the entire season. So you cannot be caught switching tires at that point in time, which is good because at this point, if we restarted, everyone would be on soft tires, or most would be on soft tires, and that changes the race a lot.
Yes, well, we do have word from the commissioner, Pork Chops, saying you guys made it 50%. Black flag, call the race. Sounds like that is going to be it with only 9 or 10 laps to go in Japan. We unfortunately had to call it due to a technical error on the servers of Formula 1 23. It happens. Unfortunate. We hate to see it. It wasn't rain's fault today. No one can say that this was the fault of the weather. It was just the fault of the internet. So very unfortunate there as we saw some falls from grace at the very end of our race today. Both Lightwork and Mitch Burns tanking out of contention for a podium spot. Again, making it very, very difficult for the likes of Lightwork to find himself climbing the driver's podium for a shot at one of those awards at the end of this year. Only 4 races to go after today.
It also seems like it might be tricky to determine when they call this because some drivers were kicked before, so it wasn't an instant cut. Some of the drivers are saying that they were out before we saw the big blackout. So determining who finished where and is it the last lap before the incident happens, or is it at moment of impact? And then how do you decide that if everyone had kind of disconnects at different times? So it'll be a while to clear this one up, but we will know those results next week for you, hopefully, because we will have a race happening in Brazil.
Oh, one of my favorite tracks. One of my coworkers actually grew up right behind that track in real life, showing me some really cool Polaroids of him riding his bikes, like his childhood, elementary, middle school bike on the track in Brazil in the off season. So that is another fun one. It's going to be nothing but intense action. I believe next week, the broadcast will be from Infinite Gamer for Division 2, as we will be moving back up to D1. However, if you want to, you can tune back into our pre-race coverage, and we will be sure to post the results of both D1 and D2 there. So if you're looking for those results today, and whether or not Mitch Burns was able to make it out in the top of the grid there before that spin out as a result of when this glitch occurred, be sure to tune into the pre-show next week. Same place, same time, right here on Nick and Mitch. But that is going to do it from Japan. Unfortunately, due to technical error, the race was called Black Flag with only 9 laps remaining. Thank you very much for watching today's live stream. Mitch, did you have any other comments on today's race before we wrap this thing up and head over to the second one?
I know I would say we get to end early, but it's not that much earlier than most races. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, we would have been getting close at this point to the checkered flag. But the real life drivers are live as we speak on ESPN, Sky Sports, wherever you're watching, in free practice 1 from Japan. So head on over there. Check that action out before you head to bed or head to work, wherever you are in the world. Yes, thank you to everyone for tuning in to the Midwest Esports Racing Formula One Division 2 Week 12 in Japan on Nick and Mitch. Thank you very much to our executive producers and all of our members over on our channel. Executive producers, Bone Crusher 2D, Coach 34, and Mama Bell, along with co-producers, Captain
Weird and Killavepa,
and our fans and Fans Plus.
There you go. You can become a member too with the join button down below. You get some cool perks like the numbers next to your chat. Bob Comito, Coach 34, has 24, so over 2 years of support. There's different tiers for that. You get early access to different videos, other stuff. It's all down there. If not, just subscribe to. We love to see those numbers climb up.
Yes, and we do have, we didn't have enough race to mention it today. We do have a little graph during our live streams here that if you subscribe to the channel, something happens.
I'll hit it for whoever's left.
All right, here we go. See if it works.
There we go. I think it shows up. It'll pop up like that.
Yes, so if you would like to subscribe in the next live stream, please do so. Interrupt us with a little boop, boop, boop. We all love it. We will see you here next week, Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern for round 13 from Brazil in Division 1. We'll also see you here Wednesday, 9 a.m. for our Riders Republic weekly blog. We cover an extreme sports game by Ubisoft over there. And this is the first week of their new DLC featuring skateboard and 20 to 30 new tracks, music tracks in the game. So a lot going on there. If you're interested in Riders Republic, you can head to our channel to learn more, but purchase it now because the game's biggest update is dropping on next Tuesday, ready to play on Wednesday. But we'll be there covering all of the action there day before the next F1 race. I have said a lot in a very little time. It is time to go to bed. From Baltimore and Pittsburgh, thank you much for watching. Once again, I'm Nick.
And I'm Mitch.
And we'll see you in Brazil.